And joining us right now on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line, the man dazzled this past preseason, and he'll continue to dazzle as he signed a new multi-year deal to do Eagles preseason games. Our good friend Ross Tucker joins us right now. Ross, what's going on, brother?
Mark, what's up, man? It's go time. It's funny. It's always mixed emotions this time of year for me because I love doing the Eagles preseason games. I wish I could do their games all year. But I'm also very excited for the start of the regular season for week 1, the Birds and the Lions. It's funny, though, because I think I probably told you this last year, but I've been doing stuff in the media since I was on IR in Washington in 2007. I've been calling games for, 15 years now. Nobody cared until I was doing the Eagles games, man. I mean, in terms of my friends and some of my family members, like they knew I was doing other stuff. I do NFL games on the radio and a college game for CBS every week. They didn't really care. Like a couple years ago, the first year I did it, 2019 maybe, they were texting me. They're like, "You're really good." It's like, yeah, well, thank you. I've been doing it for 12 years. Thank you for all the other times you clearly haven't watched or listened once. You know, it's just the way Philadelphia is, man. A lot of people just don't care until you're doing the Eagles game.
We're rather parochial, but yeah, you know what? You do keep busy. People need to follow you, of course, on Twitter, Ross Tucker NFL, at Ross Tucker NFL. You got the Ross Tucker podcast. You got Go Big Recruiting. Oh, this is really cool. I remember you telling me about this last time. My front page gift. Tell me what that is again.
Yeah, it's basically the best gift you can ever give anyone. They write a story all about whoever you want to have the story written about. And evidently, Mark, September and October are the 2 biggest months for weddings, which is amazing to me. I never would have guessed that. So if you're one of the people that somehow let your wife talk you into getting married in the fall during football season, this should be your anniversary gift. Literally, you talk to one of our writers for 10 minutes. They write the most unbelievable story about your wife. You give it to her. It looks like it's on the cover like the Philadelphia Inquirer. She's totally shocked by it. What is this? And you're like, babe, I had a story written about you, which just sounds so money. It's not even funny. And then she reads the quotes and you're like, I don't thank her enough for the little things she does. She will cry, dude. Your wife will cry. You will win. myfrontpagestory.com. I promise.
Okay. All right. A gift that'll hit it out of the park. No doubt about it. Ross Tucker, let me ask you this. I was listening to Jason Kelce yesterday, and I'm listening to Jason Kelce talk about how you can never be comfortable. Yeah, you got to always make sure that you're pushing. You always want more. I'm pretty comfortable in saying that this Eagles team is going to the playoffs. Is that your expectation for at least this Eagles team to make the playoffs in the upcoming season?
Well, I'd be surprised if they didn't, right? I mean, I'd actually be surprised they don't win 10 or 11 games. And, that's not being a homer. That's just being objective. They won 9 games last year. And by the way, the 16 they tried to win, they didn't even try to win the last one. So they were 9-7 in the 16 they actually tried to win. You add A.J. Brown on offense. You get Seamalo back, who's a big upgrade over the guys they had playing right guard last year. Then on the defensive side of the ball, 23.5 sacks for Hassan Reddick. Jordan Davis with the first-round pick. I was really impressed, Mark, with Kaiser White in training camp in the preseason. And on the back end, Bradbury and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Objectively, nationally, anyone would tell you the roster is a decent amount better. This is the first time Jalen Hurts isn't learning a new offense since he was 16 in the offseason. Every other time he's had to learn a new offense, and I can speak to that. Having played for a bunch of teams, it's so nice to actually be in the same offense back-to-back years. So I'd be surprised based on everything I just told you if they don't win 10 or 11 games. They might even win more, but I think 10 or 11 is reasonable, which is why I've been telling everybody on the Even Money podcast, that's the betting podcast, the over 9.5 is a no-brainer for me. You got to hit the over on the 9.5 on the Eagles.
All right. I'll be pounding that as soon as we get done this interview today. Now, I want to ask you about this because you played on the offensive line for a long time for a handful of teams there in the NFL, and Isaac Seamalo is a guy that rarely gets talked about. Now, how difficult is it to go from the left guard spot to the right guard spot on an offensive line?
A lot harder than people realize, especially for a guy like Seamalo who's only ever been on the other side. As much as anything, Mark, it's just your stance. Imagine getting in the same uncomfortable position thousands of times for years And you get used to it. You get comfortable in that naturally uncomfortable position. Then all of a sudden you have to switch. The good news for him is they've kind of known since the spring this is what's going to happen. So he's been doing it every rep. And he's one of the guys they tell me, and even some of the young guys told me this, Cam Jurgens, that he's one of those guys that puts in the extra time. He looked very comfortable in training camp. I don't think Eagles fans realize, Mark, he's an above average starter. You know, he got benched in 2017. Got off to a bad start in his career. Got benched in 2017. What happens is people don't really pay attention to the line that much. And so they just assume, oh, he's not good because he got benched once. Well, he got better. And now he's good. I mean, he's a very solid player. It's why their O-line is loaded. They're not just the best O-line in the league in my mind. They're the best O-line in the league by a decent margin.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I don't have to be as worried about that. What about the quarterback position now for the Eagles? I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. I have said that I think this won't be his last year starting for the Eagles. I think this will be the guy for the foreseeable future. Do you think he'll solidify that idea after this season to be the quarterback of the foreseeable future?
You know, it's funny because if I think they're going to win 10 or 11 games and probably at least one playoff game, how could I say it's not Jalen Hurts moving forward, right? I mean, I guess that's barring something unforeseen or someone else being available that we wouldn't expect, because that's what the NFL is, right? The NFL is always, what's your next best alternative, right? I mean, like, there were teams that I started for, but man, they were hoping they could get somebody better. I mean, I can assure you, they were hoping they could get somebody better than me. So it's what your next best alternative is. I do think the Eagles will have a good year. I told you 10, 11 games, at least a playoff win, which means it would be a huge upset if Hurts isn't the quarterback in 2023.
Mm-hmm. Just to stay on that point for a second, my own personal belief is if the Eagles offense is exactly what it was last year, like a run first by far type of offense, and Jalen Hurts is your leading rusher, that's what would move me to think he won't be back as the Eagles starting because he hasn't progressed in the passing game. Do you think if they are a mirror image of what, then granted, with A.J. Brown, with another year of Devontae Smith, I don't think they will be, but if they were, that's the thing I think would make the Eagles move away from Jalen Hurts in next year.
Well, remember, it all depends on who else would be available, right? So
okay.
I understand your premise. And I agree on to some extent that if he doesn't show improvement, if he's still a run-heavy guy that does not throw the ball with more consistency, I think the Eagles would explore their other options at that point. But what are their other options? Okay. You know, like, I mean, there has to be, I mean, would there be somebody that they would rather get in the draft? I tend to doubt it because they're going to be drafting way low. So it'd be very hard for them to actually get up and get one of the
Well, they do have 2 picks.
Guys. I know, but so does like 5 other teams who are going to be worse than the Eagles and are going to be more desperate than the Eagles. That's my point. I mean,
okay.
And so then you look, okay, who's available in free agency? Lamar Jackson, maybe. I doubt it. You know, worst case scenario, the Ravens franchise tag him. So I just don't even know who would be available that they would think is better than Jalen Hurts at that point.
Fair enough. How confident are you? I know a lot of people, even after watching Hard Knocks and falling in love with Dan Campbell and all that, how confident are you the Eagles will be 1-0 after Sunday?
Pretty confident, but the opener is always a unique entity unto itself, right? I mean, both teams have new wrinkles, new things they want to try, really on both sides of the ball. I'm sure Jonathan Gannon has some new stuff. I know Steichen and the offense will have some new stuff. So will the Lions. And sometimes, Mark, the new stuff stinks. Sometimes the new stuff doesn't work. Or sometimes the new stuff's great. Well, what if the new stuff for the Eagles stinks and the new stuff for the Lions is great? That's a problem. That's a major problem in the opener. Whereas after the opener, you at least have some sense of what the other team's looking to do with their guys this year. So I do think the Eagles win the game, but I think it's competitive. I think it's close. I think it's a field goal game. I think it's a hard-fought game. The Lions, I feel like, have a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence. Some of these O-line injuries for the Lions that we'll be keeping an eye on all the way up until the inactives on Sunday, that's a differentiator right there. it feels like the Eagles are clearly the healthier team coming into the opener, and that's big.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you about two guys that you used to play with. One guy's name is Jason Peters. How the heck is this guy? I mean, look, God bless him, man. 40 years old, and he's going to be playing for the Dallas Cowboys now. What was your reaction to that news?
I am very surprised that he still wants to play. Very surprised. And the reason why I say that is a couple of things. Number one, I know Mark, for me, I retired when I was 28. I played 7 years. Very proud of that, by the way. But there was a big difference for me, even in my early 30s, when I had lost weight just working out or just like drinking, just being hungover. Like, there's a difference in your early 30s, bro, to your mid 20s. There's a difference. There is. To be able to do it in your late 30s or at 40, that's bananas to me. Not only that, I mean, I don't know how much money he's making, but last year he made $175 from Chicago. Now, that's a ton of money, okay? But he's made $117 million. So after taxes, the Chicago money is probably $800,000. That makes no difference in his life, bro. None. So, but like a serious injury could, the wear and tear could. So I'm just a little bit surprised that he wants to play. I love football. Listen, if you watch the preseason games, I love football. But knowing what I know now about the other side and family and your body, they'd have to pay me a lot. I mean, a lot to try to play again.
Okay, your other former teammate, Tom Brady, retired, and then I believe it was 40 days and 40 nights later, he unretired. When he did retire, were you surprised, or were you just expecting the unretirement in the not-too-distant future?
I was not that surprised when he retired because people had started to hint about it that week. And I did that game, actually, on the radio for Westwood One, the Rams-Bucks game, and there was sort of a lot of buzz that this could be it for him. I'm very surprised that he retired and announced he was coming back so quickly, because he's a very measured guy, and he usually thinks out everything he's going to do several steps in advance. So to retire and then unretire so quickly seemed out of character for him, just like taking a 10-day vacation during training camp to go to the Bahamas or wherever he was doing is very uncharacteristic for him as well. So he's got some weird stuff going on that's not very Brady-like.
Understood. I've asked you about the Eagles. Last thing on the Eagles before we get into a little fun thing I got going on here. When it came to training camp, when it came to your preseason coverage and all that, was there one off-the-radar guy that really caught your attention with the Eagles that we should look out for in the upcoming season?
Well, I mean, he's not off the radar anymore, thanks to me in the preseason games, but I really like Cam Jurgens.
Okay.
But I can't say Cam Jurgens because he's a backup. So
okay.
I'm gonna say Zach Pascal. I was impressed with Zach Pascal. I think he's gonna help the Eagles win some games. I think they have a huge upgrade at wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4. Everybody talks about the AJ Brown part of it, but you got Quez Watkins. I don't think there's very many better number 3 receivers than him. Mm-hmm. And then Pascal at 4, that's huge. I mean, that gives the Eagles, even if they have an injury, they have a chance to have 3 really good receivers the whole season. I'm pumped up about Pascal.
All right. One of my favorite things about you doing the preseason, aside from the great analysis we get from you each and every week in the preseason, it's you and Scott Graham going back and forth on movie quotes. Usually how it works is you, Russ Tucker, throw out a movie quote and you say, Scott Graham, the nicest man on the planet, Scott Graham. Scott, what movie is that from? And Scott's like, I got nothing. And then you just keep on going to that movie quote, and I love it. So I got a couple movie quotes for you that are of the genre in which you allude to so often, 90s to early 2000s comedies.
Okay.
That I thought we'd have some fun with. Do you want to play a little Ross Tucker at the movies here?
I would love to. I will just tell you this. I'm not a huge movie guy, but that is the time frame that, like, I can't remember the last time I went to movies. I got kids now, but I do know movies from back then. So
okay.
I'm not as into movies as you would think, based on, during the games. But listen, man, it's second half of preseason games. I got to keep it entertaining. And if the Eagles have a rookie whose freshman year was 2015, I got to mention that a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
Oh, look, you're 1-0 already. Here's the first one. Well, first off, let me bring in the band. We have a trivia band in here. Guys, you want to get it going here? Spicy today, fellas. Spicy. All right. First one here. What movie? You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
Tommy Boy. Boom.
Nailed it.
Easy.
1 for 1. 1 for 1. All right, this is where it gets a little tougher. What is this? A center for ants?
No.
All right, here you go. Keep going. How can we expect to teach the children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Oh.
I'll give you a visual hint.
Oh, Zoolander.
Nailed it. 2 for 2.
Zoolander.
2 for 2.
Nice.
For the people on the podcast, I did the blue steel. Anyway, all right, here we go. This is a little tougher. Here we go. A gun rack. A gun rack. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. What am I going to do with a gun rack?
Oh, so I know this. I know that line, and I know the movie, but I can't think of it.
Party on.
Oh, Wayne's World.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
As far as I'm
World. Nice.
3 for 3 as far as I'm concerned. Here we go. All right. This is a really tough one here. Okay. Hey, you want some of this milk? No milk will ever be our milk. How about you, Sideburns? You want some of this milk? I'd rather have a beer.
No, I don't know that one. When you were talking milk, I was going to say Happy Gilmore. I thought it was Ben Stiller saying, I'll give you a warm cup of shut the heck up. When you started with the milk, I was excited because I thought it was Happy Gilmore's grandma asking for a warm glass of milk, and Ben Stiller saying, I'll give you a warm glass of shut the heck up.
Okay, that's so perfect. Okay, what was the Adam Sandler movie before Happy Gilmore?
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison. He says it to Veronica Vaughn in the hallway. Oh, Veronica Vaughn. Yeah.
No milk will ever be. You know what? You're not picking the best lines from these movies.
There
are better lines. That Veronica Vaughn is one fine. You know, there's a bunch of lines from everything you just said. We are all dumber. May God have mercy on your soul. There's so many lines you could have picked up. You're the worst at picking the lines.
All right. Then you're going to kill me for this one then. You're going to kill. This is the last one. The last one. Actually, a pretty nice little Saturday. We're going to go to Home Depot. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time.
Old school.
Nailed
Love it. Old school. That's the right line.
That's the
right movie.
I debated between that and Once It Hits Your Lips. It's so good.
It just feels, it tastes so good. Sand, foam, something. Yeah. Foam. Yeah. Sand, foam, something.
The great Ross Tucker. If you guys aren't followed on social media, what are you doing? What are you doing with your lives? Come on. Ross Tucker right here at Ross Tucker NFL, Ross Tucker Podcast, Big Recruiting. My front page gift. Fellas, check that out. Eagles preseason, CBS Sports, Westwood One, Odyssey Sports, and everything else. And tell me again, what was it, Big Money Podcast as well?
The Even Money Podcast.
Even Money.
Yes.
Even Money.
Make sure you hop on board the gravy train that is the Even Money Podcast if you like to bet.
There we go. Ross Tucker, always great catching up with you, brother. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. See you, buddy.
See you, buddy. Ross Tucker joining us on the Ruffin Orthopedics guest line.